What's up, guys? It's Crash, and I wanted to make a video today, just pretty much an open letter to Battlefield, and that's everybody involved in the Battlefield franchise. Just kind of where I'm at. I've had a lot of people saying I need to come back to 2042 because it's starting to feel better, and while that is the case, I still have a lot of emotions and stuff about this game. I have a lot of thoughts, and I'm kind of going to split this video into 3 parts. I hope you'll stick along for the journey. The first part, there's some good stuff going on with Battlefield. The second part is going to be kind of my reasoning why the game hasn't been enjoyable for me. And then the last one are objective issues that cannot continue for the Battlefield community. Like, as a community, you guys deserve better than this, and some of the things that were said to us, promised, and the way we were treated in the release of this game and where it is at right now. So I really wanted to talk about that. It's been really important to me, and that's why I haven't been playing the game. We'll talk about that a little bit. I know my tiny shitty YouTube channel really has zero effect, like absolutely zero effect on the direction of Battlefield in the future, but I feel like just for me, I kind of want to stay where I stand, and that I really feel in my heart of hearts that the Battlefield community deserves better going forward, and we'll talk about that at the end of the video because I think that stuff is really important. As always, time tag down below for you guys. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is props and thank you to the developers and the teams that stuck with 2042 to help get it closer to the vision that they had in the beginning. I know that a lot of them knew that the game was not ready to release. EA potentially allegedly made them do it anyway, but they were able to stick with it and get it to a place that's closer to their vision. And I know many of you guys are enjoying the game, and I think that's absolutely great. I love to see it. You guys are like the core Battlefield fans that are sticking with it, and we definitely need that if the community is going to be rebuilt. So I appreciate them for doing that. Also, the in-game events are nice. Again, I always want to expect more when it comes to content and things like that when you tout a live service like that. But at least something is happening where they're doing in-game events that are like going on right now. So I definitely think that's good. And the game is getting closer to their vision. Now that ties into the next part, which is kind of my reasoning, my personal opinions, why that vision doesn't kind of jive with what I think a Battlefield game should be. And essentially there's 3 main things. And the first thing I want to talk about are specialists. Now, those are a huge deal with the game. I know a specialist rework isn't coming, but I don't think it's going to fix the core issue that I have with specialists. And that is, Battlefield was always about little people doing big things. Those were Battlefield moments, right? You had a nameless, faceless soldier pulling off these insane stunts with nothing special. Like you're just a plain soldier in a giant war machine, and maybe you snuck up on a tank and was able to C4 a tank and blow it up, or maybe you jumped out of a helicopter onto another jet and was able to C4 and then jump off and blow it up as you dropped out. Some of those crazy Battlefield moments felt so much more special when you were just a plain soldier. Like I said, Battlefield moments, in my opinion, were always about little people doing huge, big, unexpected things, David versus Goliath type moments. And that's what I always pictured that as, you know, potentially taking on an entire squad on a flag and capping that flag with you and your other squad mates. Just crazy stuff like that. With the specialist, it almost feels like those Battlefield moments are a little bit manufactured. They're a little bit forced because you have all these gadgets that can help you pull that stuff off. You know, McKay ziplining up to a helicopter, dropping C5 on it. It's not that uncommon. You know, Sundance with the grenades, taking out an entire squad on a flag and stuff like that. Not as crazy, you know, swooping in and assassinating somebody from the back. It's almost like you kind of expect these when you're playing as super soldiers. You kind of expect these only in Battlefield moments, and they feel like a little bit manufactured. And even like the specialist shooting specialist, like if you're playing a McKay and you're shooting other McKays, like that is a little bit weird and a little bit jarring. But I think my biggest issue with them is that there's just the only in Battlefield moments seem like forced and manufactured. It's not about the nameless, faceless soldiers doing huge stuff on the battlefield anymore, and that's what I really miss a lot. The other thing is, I know a class system is coming. Grouping these specialists and still having them and just putting them in categories, I don't know how that's going to work. We're going to see. I have my doubts, but what classes did is it gave everyone a clear, defined objective. Even if you're playing with randos, the person playing support knew they needed to play support. They knew they needed to give ammo. They even added the awesome mechanics, and I think Hardline and definitely in Battlefield 5 that I liked, where you could just take ammo off of classes. Like even if your Blueberry wasn't doing what he was supposed to do, you could still just go up and take ammo off them, and also health packs in Battlefield 5. So that was kind of a definite downgrade in my opinion. And that was always one of the things too that kind of ties into the next thing is I always had so much on Battlefield with friends. It was all about with friends and getting everyone together and playing together and working together, and everybody had their roles. And it just seems so much easier to make that happen under the class system, as well as missing platoons, server browsers, and squad management. I think that is a major problem, and this is not necessarily something they weren't able to add based on what they've said where it's not coming to the game. This was not part of their original vision of the game. Having platoons, having a server browser, and like in-game squad management stuff was not part of the vision. It wasn't a part of the blueprint of the game. They're not working towards that, and I think that is a absolute massive mistake. Because I just remember some of the best times I had, even in the most recent one in Battlefield 5, was maybe I would be streaming and a bunch of people wanted to hop in, and I could just give them the server browser number and they could hop in the same server. We could switch teams a little bit, get on the same team, have larger squads, everybody move around and work together and kind of work through my stream and have a bunch of people playing together and having a lot of fun. And it's just so sad you're not able to do that, as well as, you know, some of the inherent things I used to love about server browser. I know it sounds silly, but I think that was part of the identity of Battlefield. Server browsers were one of the things where I could tell COD people, you know, hey, you're tired of skill-based matchmaking. You know how I know there is zero skill-based matchmaking in Battlefield? There's a server browser. You pick where you want to play. You can pick the closest one to you, and there you have zero qualms with matchmaking. Like you can't say matchmaking is a problem at all because you chose your server. Now we could get into in-game balancing and, you know, team balancing a little bit. That was kind of an issue when it was taken out in Battlefield 5 for things like that, but it seemed to work fairly well in 1. But I just mean server browsers were like the identity of Battlefield, and even, you know, custom ones mixed in with the official ones, I always thought were really awesome. And server browsers incredibly important. Squad management, platoons for those larger communities of clans and players getting together. I don't know why some of these things that were in older titles that made it easier to enjoy the game with friends was removed. I think that's a massive mistake, and I really hope it comes back. The gun customization is another big missed opportunity. The plus system was really cool, but it just needed more. It needed more behind it, and obviously that wasn't part of their vision, so that was kind of a smaller one. And then some of the next things I want to talk about kind of fall into just the actual objective issues with this game, and I want to get into that right now. And there's going to be some pretty harsh words in here. I feel like, and I'm just going to say it, I feel like DICE and EA has gaslit the community, and you guys deserve better. We deserve better. I think they've gaslit the community into expecting much less content for more money, and I don't want to stand for it. And this is the biggest reason I haven't been playing the game. And I know if I play the game on my tiny shitty channel, like that has nothing to do with how much money EA and DICE makes. That has nothing to do with the next game. Like, it doesn't matter. But for me, like, as a person and my values and my morals, I don't want to be part of the problem. However small that part is, the next game has to be different, guys, from a content standpoint. It can't continue like this. We're on a horrible trend of less and less content in these games for more and more money. And I'm really frustrated by it. And there's tools out there to help developers make more content with less time, procedural and things like that can help get this stuff out there and get what was most important is content and replayability in these multiplayer games and bang for your buck. And I think little slips in that are kind of to be expected in the climate that we're in. But man, the distance we have fallen from the amount of maps in Battlefield 4 and the DLCs to where 2042 is incredible, you guys. So some of the things I want to talk about and how I think the community deserved better and where we were treated improperly and disrespected. I'm just going to get into that a little bit. The first thing we were told was Battlefield 5 support needed to end early so 2042 could have more content and more time being worked on it and more people devoted to it. and we still got the same buggy launch we had for the past several Battlefields. This one was on par. 2042's buggy launch was on par with Battlefield 4, and they can't keep doing that. It was even to the point where Andrew Wilson, the EA CEO, said, DICE is pretty good at fixing stuff in an investor call. He said they're really good at getting the game fixed and back to where the community expects, like they've done this before. That can't be the normal. We can't have these broken, incredibly broken launches as the norm. It can't happen anymore. And we were told that Battlefield 5, a game I really enjoyed, and I think is another, like, Battlefield lately has been a story of missed potential. Battlefield 5 was a great mechanical game. I will die on that hill. I'm a Battlefield 5 truther. I really enjoyed it, minus the 2 times they randomly broke the time to kill. It was not enjoyable then, but I have always really enjoyed the mechanics, the feel and stuff of the Battlefield 5. Coming from an infantry player, it felt really good. And there's just so much missed opportunity. There's so many iconic World War II battles that they didn't even get to. We were also told that they were going to build on the Battlefield 5 movement mechanics, but they actually took things out of it. Instead of building onto it like they said, like one of the core gameplay engineers said, they actually took out things like crouch running and manual leaning. I thought manual leaning, able to keybind that in Battlefield 5 was so nice and made the movement feel so good in that game, and they just took it out, even though they said they were building on stuff. You know, roast me in the comments, but I thought Firestorm was actually a really good battle royale, and you can't argue that it wasn't absolutely beautiful, the map and everything. And that engine and stuff in Battlefield 5 was incredibly well optimized. It looked great, it ran great, and I don't know why we had to go backwards on so many fronts from Battlefield 5, but we were told that game needed to die early so 2042 could be better. We were told no single player, and we were left to insinuate that meant more content. That meant more content and more of a game. No single player. Okay, we're still paying the same price. So a normal person would think in kind of a mutual relationship, you know, business customer relationship, that you would get more content at other places. That did not happen. We were also told it was ahead of schedule. Now, when I interviewed Jim Heil, an EA developer, on the scope, he said that there's ways Laura Miele could have actually thought the game was ahead of schedule based on the different pods working together. The individual aspects of the game could have been ahead of schedule, but they didn't foresee the problems when they merged everybody's work together remotely across the entire world. The people that were working on the game, there were a massive amount of people working on 2042, and it didn't go well together. But telling people it was ahead of schedule in the summer before launch was not correct, as it turns out. We were told ahead of a buggy beta that the build was old and not to worry about bugs. Many of them had already been fixed. Don't worry about how buggy the beta is. Don't worry that it constantly crashes, the mouse input doesn't work, and the frames are awful, and the hit detection doesn't work, and there's players teleporting across the maps. There's frozen players, there's phantom players. Don't worry about that stuff. That's not going to be in launch. It was definitely in launch. There is actually still a recoil bug, as confirmed by lead gameplay designer Florian. It's still a problem as of December 9th. There's still issues with mouse input and recoil, and they're hoping to get it fixed in 3.2. So we're still working on mouse input in a game where DICE has made a lot of wonderful mouse input titles that have worked fine. I don't know why we're going backwards. The community deserves better. And then we have one of the biggest problems is the amount of maps and content. The least amount of maps post-launch in franchise history. We're going to end up more than likely with 4, potentially 5 post-launch maps for this entire game, which is what the content of one DLC used to be. The live service model is not working if it's going to be this way. It inherently doesn't have to be this way. We were told post-launch content was going to be free. Nowhere in there did it say there needed to be less. It could have been the same to keep players together and have plenty of content to keep going. I don't know how they make that to where they can make it worth it money-wise, but we need more maps. We cannot accept one map every season. And I know there's map reworks, and that's the other thing that I feel like has been a little bit of gaslighting by DICE is it seems like they're touting map reworks and finishing the maps as content. And that doesn't count in my opinion. They're getting the maps to where they should have been at launch. I don't think it's proper business practice to tell your customers that you're getting a 1.0 release and then finishing the maps later and calling that content. I don't feel like that counts as content in my opinion. And that leads to my figure of the absolute smallest amount of content we've ever got post-launch for a Battlefield game. And that's one of the biggest problems I have with the game, and one of the things I feel worse for the community is it's just gotten stale, man. Like it needed maps, and I don't want this to be the norm going forward with the Battlefield franchise. And the other thing, we talked about the massive amount of content left on the table and potential left on the table. Talk about Portal. They said at Portal, or at launch, this was just the beginning for Portal. You have a way to play maps and modes from older and other games, and the amount of nostalgia for older games that this game created is astronomical. And there could have been so many layup maps that would have got people excited about Portal. It makes zero sense why they haven't added anything to Portal map-wise. Things like Metro, you know, Zavod, C just saying hi, like Dan Van Peek, like some of those crazy maps. Everyone, you guys all have some of your favorite Battlefield maps that you love. And why weren't those put in to Portal? That's what it's for. And they didn't even add a single map to Portal, which is insane to me. It's insane. The amount of potential that gets left on the table with the Battlefield franchise. Hazard Zone as well, we can see with the success of DMZ, how a fleshed out extraction mode can go. DMZ has a lot of aspects to it, a lot of stuff to it, while Hazard Zone has collect data drives. And then the other thing you can do in Hazard Zone is collect data drives. So it's just so much potential is being left on the table with the Battlefield franchise. I feel like the community has been gaslit into expecting less, and I just don't want to see it happen. There's not much I can do on my tiny little corner of the internet, but I just am hoping for the best for the community. I want you guys, the Battlefield community is a special community. I've been honored to consider myself a part of it over the last several years. And it's just an awesome place to meet awesome people, and you guys deserve better. Like, we deserve better, and I hope it gets better. I'm a little bit concerned about them kind of splitting up solo like campaign gameplay with Marcus Leto's Ridgeline Studio and multiplayer being kind of separate. Again, you would think, oh, that'll give them more time to work on multiplayer and have more maps, and then the solo experience should be awesome and big. I hope it's not the same amount of content that we used to get in one game, and now they can charge 2 AAA prices for it. So I'm keeping my eye on that. I really hope they do the Battlefield community right. And like I said, guys, we all deserve better, but I don't deserve you. If you made it to the end of this video, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate it so much for sticking through my rambling and listening to my thoughts. This is just kind of from my heart, some of the things I've been thinking over the last few weeks about the franchise. I've been playing a fair amount of Call of Duty because it's a game where I can get in with my friends. I've just been playing a lot of search and destroy as we get teamwork and comms and working together like we used to in Battlefield. And that's been pretty fun, but it's not the same. And I miss Battlefield, and I miss seeing a lot of you guys on my channel. And I was feeling a little bit nostalgic today, so I hope it gets better in the future. Again, cannot thank you enough for watching my channel, making it to the end of this video. Absolutely incredible. I love you all, and we'll see you next time.